Excited to have you. I have to admit, this is one of my favorite nights of Park City education. Probably my favorite, which is hard to admit. My day job is actually at Montage, so I'm very partial to Red Apple Gala. But I think this one is even more my favorite because these amazing students are going to tell us about all the hard work we do and what that means to them on a daily basis. So I definitely always leave tonight so excited about the work we're doing here for Park City Education Foundation, what we're doing in the schools. I do get a little regretful for those of you that may have gone to high school 25 years ago. I was very lucky. I grew up in Fairfax County in Northern Virginia, one of the wealthiest areas for school districts, but it makes me realize how little I took advantage of the wonderful opportunities that kids have nowadays. Apparently skipping school and listening to gangster rap driving around town is not the best way to set yourself up for a successful career. So these students are going to prove what I did was the wrong thing, and we're going to hear from them about all the amazing things they do on a daily basis, and what all of you in the Scholar Circle do to make that possible. You may know Utah is last in spending in the United States per pupil. We're way behind, and what Park City does to make up that gap is unbelievable. Besides our 8 signature programs of preschool, after school, Bright Futures, we also support over 100 different programs. We're only going to hear about 3 or 4 of them tonight. But when you look at the depth and breadth of opportunities that we give to students at Park City, it really is amazing. And we couldn't do that without the Scholar Circle donor levels. All of you and the donations you make are what's responsible for that money coming in, and that translates directly into what these students do on a daily basis. So we're so excited to have you here to celebrate those amazing opportunities. I do have to thank a few people. I saw Dr. Gilday come in, and I'm losing everybody here. She's at the wine bar, of course, already, so well deserved. If anyone deserves that right now, Dr. Gilday has done an amazing job over the last year and a half to make sure that we're set up to be successful in this community, so thank you so much. Our CTE director is here as well over by the post. She is responsible for so many of the projects that the money goes to, and organizing them on a daily, weekly, monthly basis does an incredible job, and also part of our board. So very excited to have her here to witness this tonight. And then Summer Marshall, right there, next right there. I keep my note. Normally I don't like to speak with notes, but I have to for this one. EHMS, Creative Coding Teacher and Computer Science Integration Coach. That is quite the title. Sounds like she's doing about 20 things in one job. So thank you for everything you do on a daily basis as well. I'm very excited. And then I also kept my notes up here for as well. So I'm going to introduce my moderator tonight. I think there's a relationship here. Then Trip Marshall. So again, talk about a power couple here of unbelievable things in here. Started as a product manager for a software company, flight instructor, and airline pilot. And if that wasn't enough, in 2015, became a teacher in the Park City School District, and in that time has been the Student Association Advisor, worked on the District Computer Science Integration Team, as well as after-school homework programs.
My name is Jim Woolley. I am in 8th grade at Treasure Mountain Junior High, and last year I was in the TSA, so the Technology Student Association at Eckerd. Yeah. Is there one more?
That's good.
Okay.
You did great.
My name is Scarlett Terry. I'm an 8th grader at Treasure Mountain Junior High, and I was in TSA at FCO.
Hi, my name is Meredith Gross. I'm a senior at Park City High School, and I'm on the volleyball team along with, I'm on PCEF-funded.
Hi, my name is Cody Rykowski. I'm a junior at the high school, and I am involved with speech and debate as well as band.
Hello, my name is Eva Romero. I'm a junior, sorry about that. And I'm also involved in PCEF-funded and Bright Futures.
Thanks a lot, you guys. We'll start with you. Can you just tell us what you like about those things that you're involved with PCEF-funded and the other things? Just tell us what it is that you, when you think about why you keep going back to those things, like what do you like about those programs?
Like I said earlier, I'm in 2 programs, and I'm going to talk about PCEF-funded first. I feel like PCEF-funded is like a whole new opportunity to see like what may be a future job for you, or like even seeing like some aspects of the real world and like what you may learn into it. Like even if you don't enjoy what the specific thing you're doing in PCEF-funded, it teaches you like a lot of skills that you may like used within the future. And I find it like very empowering when I see like a lot of my friends and like other students within like my own school going to PCEF. And then Bright Futures is a very, and I mean like I'm very grateful for Bright Futures right now. They're helping me going into college because like I come into a family that is not as well benefited, and like going through this program is teaching me a lot about like what I want to do in college and like what may like in what college may be within the future, and like we have such great like mentors there, and like it's a whole new aspect as well that I want to like see other kids within my school doing as well.
Nice. Thanks a lot. Cody, tell us a little bit about what you like about the programs you're involved in.
Yeah, so I think the thing that I like the most about the debate program at the high school is the skills that it provides to you as a student for education, right? You learn how to hold a conversation, how to think critically, how to pick people's words apart, and how to command a room. If it wasn't for debate, I probably, wouldn't be able to sit up here and speak to all of you. And yeah, I'm sure when you think of debate, you think of, you and your family screaming at Thanksgiving about politics, but it's a lot more than that, right? There's topics that are very nuanced and very different, and you have to speak both sides of that topic, right? You don't get to choose what side you're on based on your own opinions. This is very useful because sometimes you have to present things or show information that you don't maybe have 100% grasp of the knowledge of when you're later down the road in your life. And being able to be flexible and being able to present yourself as a person, depending on any circumstance or any situation, is just probably the most powerful and valuable thing when entering the professional world.
Thanks, Cody. Meredith, same question. What do you like about the programs you're involved in?
So I always am talking about PCEF with my mom and my dad. I'm constantly just like praising the program. It's been so interesting to be involved in a business and to really help it thrive. I've been running business meetings, and I'm only a senior in high school. It's just such an interesting experience that I'm able to get, and I honestly love the experiences that I've had with PCEF.
Can I ask you a question? You talked about leading business meetings and stuff in PCEF. Can you give me an example of like something you've had the opportunity to be involved in, maybe with an entrepreneur in the community or a business in the community?
So I'm working with Auntie Ems I'm in the business solutions stand for PCEF. And so we're working with Auntie Ems, and so we constantly have to be having meetings to share what ideas we have or what we've accomplished, get some more information about the project. And we've been having about every 2 weeks we have a meeting along with constant emails. But it's been really interesting. I had one just the other day, just showing off some of the ideas that we've executed, and it's just been such a great experience. I can't even praise PCEF enough. It's helped me out so much.
That sounds a great opportunity. I'm glad you've all had a chance to maybe experience that. Scott?
So what I really liked about TSA was how I was given the opportunity to use my creativity and build things and get opportunities I wouldn't get in some other programs. I also really got to know some kids I wouldn't have been able to meet without TSA. Yeah.
I'm gonna make you talk a little bit more, Scott, which I'm gonna do. But she and Jim as well, we had 10 state level finalists last year from Edward Hill. So there's only first place, was it? Can you tell us a little bit about what you entered into the competition and how you won?
So we entered in for a Rube Goldberg machine, which is a machine that completes a single task in a certain amount of time. And we had to make a marble go through an obstacle course. And I'm really glad we won because we put a lot of work into that machine. So I'm really happy.
We were laughing about it earlier. I said, it was a lot of fun. And she's like, it was a lot of work. I was like, well, it was a lot of fun for me. So I appreciate that at least. That was awesome. All right, thanks a lot, Scott. Jim?
The thing I have two things that lots of things that I really appreciated about the opportunities here, but I'm just going to talk about two at the moment. The first one is that during the pandemic, my family chose to do homeschool, and TSA was the only place that I could connect with my peers. So it was a great experience because my team and we were lucky enough we got second place in the state. We got second place.
What was the project that you built?
It was the solar car. It was a solar car.
Solar Spring car.
Yes, that's what it's called. And we videoed it, and it went, I think it was 10 meters. It was everyone.
You know all this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. We had heaps of fun, and I just like being able to connect with my peers on it. We had a great time. There was lots of screaming at each other because the project wasn't accelerating at the right speed, and then there was lots of
we call that problem solving, right?
and then also lots of heartfelt apologies later. Yeah, and so that was great. The next thing is that it really encouraged teamwork a lot of teamwork. I remember we had to learn, we learned different programs like Tinkercad and SketchUp to design our projects. With the help of Mr. Marshall and Mr. Gannon, so thank you.
Mostly Mr. Gannon, but that's good.
And so we learned how to do that. And then we each took turns pitching ideas, and then we combined all of them in the end. It was a great experience, and we wouldn't have been able to get second place if we hadn't had teamwork. So, thank you.
Awesome, thanks, Jim. So the next question I have for them actually is about the pandemic that our students are sort of growing up into, right? And lots of different stories from different students, different perspectives, and all that as it is, I think, globally that way. And Jim, that's a perfect segue for that. It's we want to ask the students, how did the programs you're involved in help you or aid you or help elevate your learning or whatever during that pandemic? And so he mentioned that that him and a few other students who were doing either hybrid learning or at-home learning, they would be able to come to TSA once or twice a week and actually get to meet other students. It was about 20, 25 of them, and we get to work with them. So they did get to get some of that social connection that wouldn't have been possible maybe without programs like that. So thanks, Jim, for bringing that up. Scarlett, could you add to that? Could you tell us a little bit about how maybe being TSA or other programs helped you during this pandemic that we've been facing as a global community?
So TSA helped me during the pandemic because I was still able to get together with friends after school, and we would still be able to work together even though we had to be wearing masks and clean the desks a lot. So it was still nice to be able to see them. So
Thanks, Scarlett. Meredith?
I wasn't involved in PCCAPS during the pandemic, but it's definitely been interesting to experience it as we're coming out of it. Just learning both face-to-face, online, and just every type of meeting form has been really interesting. I'm communicating on every level, and I think it's just a great way to learn how to adapt to the future, in business.
Awesome. Thank you. That's good.
So anything in the debate space can and will be used as a weapon to win. And that includes the pandemic, right? If I can win an argument based on a number that has been produced from the pandemic, I will use that 100% of the time. So debate forced me to constantly be updated on what is going on with the pandemic at all times, right? If something was changed, some sort of number, some sort of fact was changed, it was immediately put into our case, whether or not it would benefit us or harm us, right? So just staying up to date on all that information, whether or not it's from the pandemic or world news in general, is incredibly valuable. And debate pushes that very hard.
With Bright Futures, it was an interesting process. We did a lot of Zoom calls.
Did you get to socialize?
Socializing was a big portion. A lot of slideshows and stuff. Slideshows. I don't think it was the best portion of within Bright Futures. But like coming out of the pandemic and like actually experiencing what past Bright Future students have done, it's like it's a whole new world at the same time. I'm gonna say that a lot, but like that's how opportunities are for us, and it's like meeting the people I met within like Zoom calls and like I'm also like this year I'm starting out to be a crew leader, so like learning responsibility of being a crew leader as well, and I think it's like I loved Bright Futures. I feel like there was a lot to adapt to, and it's gonna still be adapted to, but it was something as a start, and like that's what kept me going with it. Bright Futures as well. So.
That's a great segue. Thanks, Eve, for our next question, which is actually one of two things you can answer one of two ways. One is like what surprised you about that program that you weren't expecting, or what surprised you about yourself participating in that program. So if you could start us off with that, Eve, go ahead. You're actually kind of, I think, going there anyway. So
Yeah.
go ahead.
With Bright Futures, I feel like what was most surprising was like the amount they push you. Like they want you to strive for the future, but like a lot of what Jen says, like our like mentor there, is like, yeah, she could lead you within the pond, but she like if you're not gonna drink from it, she's not gonna push you like farther into that. Like you can't make a horse drink from the pond, like from the water. Like
I know, I teach ninth grade. I do this every day. Try to make them drink more. So if you have any suggestions, I'm listening.
But like it tends to like show is like, yeah, we are getting these opportunities, but like if we are not gonna reach for them or if we're not gonna take advantage of them, like what will like a lot of will change within us, and it's like, oh wow, like I'm starting to learn all these new opportunities because I'm getting pushed towards it, and I'm like really into what Bright Futures is. And like same thing with PCEF. If I was not interested within these types of like architect and engineering, or like for other people business, or like digital design, yeah, or health, like they would not go into these programs, because I think when you like first start out with PCEF, there's like an understanding like, yes, you will work harder, you are going to be doing these things, but your willingness is what shows to be like what you're going to build up to be your like resume, or like what you will show as a future as a person. Yeah.
Right on. Thanks a lot, Eve. That's great. Cody, same question. Kind of what surprised you about the program, or what surprised you about yourself participating in the program?
I think the most surprising thing about the debate program was just how absolutely different every single practice can be. Because it's not like other team practice, team sports. We can kind of predict what you're going to do that day. Like some days we can all be sitting around like working as hard as we can to write an entire case before like the next day so that we can debate. And other times we're sitting all thinking of one response to a single argument for an hour that we just absolutely need to come up with, right? Because if one thing slips by, then that can ruin the competition for you. So all of these things that are incredibly important, that are kind of built off of a hierarchy of what needs to come, all have their own different styles, and everyone is different. Like everyone is different at handling them, and everyone is different at leading them. So it's almost like every practice we have a different lead, a different coach, who's one of the students who was running us through what we're supposed to do. And that's, to me, that was surprising.
Awesome. Thank you. Meredith, same questions.
So I learned a lot about myself through PCEF. Throughout the first 2 weeks, we had to fill out like some information about ourselves. We were finding out our strengths and weaknesses, so then they could like give us the right project for us. And for my strengths, I really thought that I was good at teamwork and communication. I was wrong. I realized I never communicate. I just need to get, like, I am the type to just get my work done, expect everyone else to. That was not what happened. I've definitely struggled with the communication, but I think that because I struggled, I was able to really learn how to communicate correctly. And so I think that's really what I learned about myself, is how to be a better communicator and how to really work in a team.
That's huge, I think. I think a lot of us could say, I'd rather realize it now as a senior in high school than when I'm standing in front of a boardroom, like, I really don't like working with these people. Like, what am I doing here? Like, knowing that about yourself and knowing that you can build those skills now, that's great. All right, Scott.
So what surprised me most about myself was that I actually like TSA because I really like to read, and so I was surprised when I started doing hands-on projects that I really liked it. And so it also surprised me how many careers there are in STEM. I never really been introduced to them or paid attention to them, and TSA gave me the chance to explore all of them and really get to dive into each of them and decide which one I like the most.
Well, I love that you loved it. That made my night right there. If she went the other way with that, I was going to get rid of that. Good job. All right, Jim.
The thing I learned about myself was one that I successfully operated a power tool, and I didn't lose like a hand or something. That was like the main goal for TSA.
Mine too. That was my goal too.
Yeah.
No hands lost.
This again was very hard on us about don't lose a hand. Lots of paperwork was what he said.
That's right. Lots of paperwork.
But I also learned that I am very impatient with projects. I think TSA and this program helped me with that because I would start a project and I'd start a project and like we're just making a car that runs off the sun, doesn't make that, it's not that big of a deal, and then we'd get into the designing phase and it would be like, I'm done, that didn't work, and then I'd storm off for a while and then think about it and come back, and it was tough to just quit that easily. It was really defeating to just quit that easy, but as we went through the project, I feel like I got stronger, I don't know if that's the right word, but I got better at dealing with stuff, and we went through, and it just kept getting better, and now I can I'm almost at the point where I can go through a whole project without rage quitting and yelling at something. So I think that's a really big improvement.
I think so too. That's awesome. I'm going to ask a couple of questions now of some of our upperclassmen here. So if you would hand that down to Meredith, that'd be great. So Meredith, you're a senior. Plans for next year and sort of what you've done so far with either PCEF or with your sports or whatever that's helped you prepare you for that. Like what skills are you going to take out of our lovely school district and out to the world?
So I'm really excited for my plans next year. I hope to go to college and study both business marketing and fashion merchandising, which I've been able to experience both with my works with ANTMs. During my project, we have been doing the marketing plan and the apparel design for ANTMs, which is exactly what I want to go into. So that's been really interesting to get a taste of like what I want to go into. Also, I have played on the volleyball team, and I've really had to learn leadership, which is a large part of, and like independence, which is a large part of going to college. My freshman year, I traveled to China on the USA Volleyball Paralympics team for beach volleyball. And so I really had to learn, and I went by myself without my parents, and so I really had to learn how to be myself and how to take care of myself. So I really hope to take that to college. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Are you a junior?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us a little bit what you see yourself doing, maybe what your future plans currently are, and how these skills that you've been talking about will take you to those places you want to go.
So I would really like to go into engineering mechanics after high school. And I know that there is a connection between debate and mechanics. We as a people live in an everly accelerating world where no one can predict what tomorrow is going to be like now more than ever, right? So being able to think quickly and critically and adapt to those changes is going to be one of the most valuable things moving forward. I know a lot of you guys probably have kids who are going through high school. Putting them in the debate program is probably going to be one of the more valuable things you can do for them. I mean, you can look around and see that this place used to be a bowling alley, and now it's something that's completely different. And so being a part of that and working towards that has been something that debate has just been completely invaluable.
Yeah, you go ahead. I really want to hear more. I actually want to hear more from our 8th graders too. So you go ahead and tell us where you see yourself in a couple of years. Think about you graduated from high school. What's after that? What do you think, especially with the Bright Futures program, things like that?
So right now I'm thinking of also getting into engineering, civil engineering as of so far, and then doing coding. We are in a, just like said, we are in an ever-changing world, and like sometimes we have to adapt to it. And adapting's not bad. Like adapting to new things is like a whole new thing, and maybe like for some people adapting will be harder, but it's something that's necessary. And I feel like as of these these coming years, and then what I might see in the future, it's going to be a lot of adapting. And like I'm gonna have to adapt into a new scenario of like how will college be, and like maybe I'm going to be adapting into like as a crew leader right now of like how would that work out? Like would I still like to do that in the future, or like maybe is it something I need to fall back onto? But like things with Bright Futures, I feel like the opportunities skyrocketed. I never thought of a lot of things I used to do before. I've took like some internships. I've also like started doing PCEF because of the thought of I want to have a good future, and like college is going to help me. And, like I want to be one of the first people in my own like family to do so, and like do something like that. And then PCEF is something like even if you don't want to get into something that's involved with PCEF, it shows you a lot of skills of like what you may need in the future. And like, hey, maybe I like hypothetical situation, maybe I don't want to go into engineering, but like learning how to communicate with people who are the higher ups and like learning new skills and teamwork may be very helpful.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Could you pass that down to our 8th graders down there? Scarlett, same question. This is, I know it feels a million years from now, but everyone in this room will tell you it's in a blink of an eye, you're going to be looking at that stage like, what am I going to do next? So tell us what you see yourself doing and maybe how some skills you gained in the last year or two are going to help you with that.
I want to be a teacher, maybe in elementary school or middle school. And I feel like TSA really helped me because maybe in this one look at I can create a TSA program or a program similar to where kids can get together and use their creativity outside of the classroom and really create things they want to do.
Thank you so much. I love hearing that you're going to be a teacher, of course. I didn't hear her say that. That's a genuine answer right there. All right, Jim.
Thank you. When I grow up, is that the right? Should I say?
Well, don't plan on growing up. Just say what you're going to do in the future.
Yeah,
It's a totally different thing.
when I'm in the future.
There you
There we go. I plan to have a career in music. I know that's not heavily related to TSA, but I feel like TSA has helped me prepare for that a lot. One thing is definitely coping with failure, because I know the music industry is a tough industry to get into, and it's going to be lots of rejections. And I feel like I've had practice at that now, because lots of rejections from teammates about bad ideas.
We did learn to solder though, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's another guitar player on the table with some great shit coming out of solder. So you're already on your way. You'll be fine.
I did learn that, and that's when I want Mr. Marshall to be remembered for teaching me how to solder a guitar.
That's right. We're done for it.
That's Mr. Marshall.
That's right.
I also think it's a great second opportunity. Not that it should be, but it is a great thing to know that stuff. It's a great thing to know how to be a leader, know how to communicate, and know how to design things and not rage quit halfway through. I think that's a great.
No, those are good soft skills to have for sure. Raging offline and communicating. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Do you guys have any questions for our panel up here? They've been awesome, though. I gotta say, I hearing that stuff just fills me up as a teacher. I hope it fills you guys up too, because this is the fruits of our labor, you might say, you know, in the flesh. So let's give them all a huge hand.
So Cody and then also Jen. So Park City School District has an amazing music program that PCEF does a lot of funding for, and you're in band, correct?
Yes.
So maybe you can tell us a little bit about how is it to be in band during the pandemic and what that meant to have a class like that available during the pandemic. Can you repeat your question? I can listen.
Being in band really brings you together, you know? More so than I would say a team or a sport or even debate. Because the difference is when you're in band, you're making something. And you're making something to show other people. That's the point of making music. And especially in a time like the pandemic, making something for other people and being in a group like that that's going to be supportive like that is, I've used the word invaluable like 4 times tonight, but it really truly is. So overall, I'd say that band contributing to getting through the pandemic would be that sense of community.
Thanks a lot, Cody. That's awesome. Jim, can you talk a little bit about your music endeavors so far in our school district?
Oh, okay.
By the way, not mine. Fabulous musician right there. I mean, I've been playing music on stage for 35 years, and this kid's got it. So let's hear what you guys say. What I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Well, music has always been an emotional outlet. It can be very beautiful, or it can be ugly, and like you don't want to have anything to do with it at times. But I feel like that's important in life, and especially during the pandemic, that was important to be able to have that outlet, and just let the negative feelings go. It was great. I love being involved in music. I love being involved in school band. I love everything. I take every music opportunity I can. For that reason, because it's such a great outlet. Thank you.
That's great. That's awesome. Yeah, let's give them another round of applause. Yeah, you walk through any of our buildings, you'll see signs everywhere. PCF, supports these classrooms, and you start to really get a sense of how far the reach of this organization really is. Yeah, go ahead.
Talking about leading a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. How deep into the high school are these programs going, and why? Why do some? I'd like to hear from you guys. Why is it interesting to some students and not others?
Okay, so she's saying, we've got all these opportunities, right? Like some students choose to take advantage of those, like the horse dream, and some choose not to. And I think it comes down to preference. But what is it about the appeal of these programs? And I mean, Jen, you have to help me with this, but we have teams and clubs that are sponsored. We have band. We have full-on classrooms like computer science, or like all our computer science programs are impacted by this. What else?
Yes.
Yeah. What programs do you see? Come on up. Yeah.
Because Lindsay has the broad view of the.
That's right. Exactly. Much better than.
What's the question?
So how does PCF? What clubs, organizations, classrooms does PCF sponsor or have a part of?
Oh, no, that's not really it. It's really what students are attracted to it.
Right. You want to go like what? Okay. What?
Who does and who doesn't, and why?
Okay. So what is it? Okay. Then and let's have the students answer it. Sorry. You let her off way too easy. I'm just gonna say. What is it that makes these programs attractive to some students, not to others? Is that what the question is? Make sure I understand.
I think that, like, how do you get their attention?
Or how do we increase the reach of these programs? Maybe is that
Yeah, like,
what do you think it would take to get more students involved in the things that these clubs and organizations and things like that?
I feel like it comes from like a lot of different aspects. Like you could take it to like inspiration of like what may kids want to see in the future. But I feel like overall, if you were to like ask each and every kid like why does it appeal to them, it's like it comes from a young age, and it's like maybe the things they grew up around is like what inspired them within the future, or like maybe teachers pushing them into like what they like to see. Because like to be honest, I would never have started engineering as a whole if I didn't do Gen Yes, which was like a program back in Ecker Hill.
Seventh grade.
Seventh grade, Ecker Hill. I feel like when my teacher was like, you should try it, like try this program, it skyrocketed me into what I'm doing now. And it's like inspiration from your peers, inspiration from home. That's what gets you going, and like that's what you get to see yourself within the future. And like maybe there's some kids that don't inspire to like do some of those things, but like at the same time, all people are different, and like the variety of people is very well, like it's very like you want to see a variety of people doing a bunch of different like things within the future. And if like everyone was to clump up into like one specific area, we would never grow as a humanity.
Alright. For sure, like having more diverse programs available as well. So that's awesome. Cody.
I would say people who do debate are people who have good ideas. And everyone has good ideas. So it's less of a question about who does debate and more of a question of why don't people do debate. And that primarily comes down to confidence, right? It's difficult. It's very difficult for you to stand up in front of a panel of 3 judges and present your ideas. But if you can get over that hump and that like stigma that surrounds it, it's incredible. It's fun. We're trying to get people to come to the program. That's what we're working on. We're not very good at it. We did cold calls the other day to just increase the way that we speak to other people about like the program, and I think that was very useful. And other than that, it's mostly through word of mouth. Is how we spread the ideas of the program.
Thanks.
So I think that increasing reach is very important for these programs and finding outlets for each student.
Yes.
But I will say that I'm new from a small school down in Salt Lake, and ever since I've come to Park City, my eyes have just been wide open with the opportunities that are accessible at Park City that I could have never dreamed at my old school. With this, like, I'm working with PCEF-funded, but I'm also doing a lot of business classes. And last year I took fashion design, and just all of the opportunities are super interesting. And so I do think that it is important that every student finds what I have found that correlates to what they want to go into and what interests them. So I do think that that reach is important, but I'm very happy.
Can I ask you a question, Meredith?
Yes.
So, like, I think a lot of students, I wouldn't even like say most students are aware of PC-CAPS. What do you think it is that keeps? By the way, the numbers of PC-CAPS have just grown year after year after year.
Can I speak to that?
Yes, yeah, go ahead.
To answer your question, I think sometimes we as an organization unknowingly create barriers for students. And we did that with CAPS because it was a double block period. And kids who want to take multiple AP courses or have language courses couldn't access that program. So this year we changed it to a single period for all strands, and we have over 200 kids accessing the program.
Good job.
Okay,
Good
so
job.
yeah, that's great. So that kind of answered my question too. Was like, what would be barriers? Like one barrier might be scheduling, but is there any other barriers that students maybe if you say like, hey, you should do PC caps, and they say, I don't think so, what would be the reason why they would say maybe not?
I feel like they would say maybe not, just with lack of information about it. I mean, I didn't like really know about it. I heard about it from a friend. So I definitely think that outreach is super important to find out about PC caps. I think that it should be broadcasted more because I have learned so much and it's been such an influential class period. But I think that some barriers could be, like, it is a little bit scary. You are placed with people that you might not know very well. I definitely didn't know my team, so I've had to meet a lot of kids from the high school throughout this program. But overall, it's been very positive. I've enjoyed every second. So I think that a main barrier is lack of information.
All right, thank you so much. That's super helpful. So this year we didn't do TSA at Treasure. It just fell short of the time. We were going to do it next year. I was almost going to do it in January. I just can't do it right now. So assuming we have a TSA program, that's a big first step. I like to have the program so the kids can come into it. What would you think it would take to get our numbers up next year? What would be a good plan for us to go forward with that, you think? Scott?
Maybe you get to know the kids who were at Ecker who participated in TSA, and maybe have them make posters about it around school, so kids do know more about like the club and where they can join. Because in 6th grade, I didn't know what TSA was until my friend was like, "Hey, you should come with me." And,
Okay, so you were invited then.
yeah, so I think we should really just put up more signs and get the word out, maybe through morning announcements too, just to like get kids to
Awesome.
stop.
I appreciate that. Jim, you got anything to add?
So I think everything is about taste. Some people find their spark, like the thing they love, when they're like 6 months old, and other people find it when they're like 27. I've known what I wanted to do since I was like 6 months old. I've known that's what I wanted to do, but I realized that's not the case because it's hard to find what you love and what you want to pursue. But I think that what we can do to get more people involved in this is get people to try and find their spark quicker. Sorry, I'm talking like an American. My American accent is not very good. And
You're doing great.
thank you. And I think we need to help people find their spark easier. No, not easier. Find their spark. And that's really important that people know what they want to do, and I think that'll really help people. Like if they know they want to be an architect when they grow up, then TSA is probably the thing. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so what I hear from that is diversity of programs, applicability of programs, knowledge of what the programs are, programs that are inviting, and programs that are passion driven for students. That's what I heard from the panel. So thanks, you guys. They were great answers.
I just wanted to add
Thank you.
something. We had a really interesting meeting with Mr. Arbabi at the high school, and this may be happening in Treasure too, I don't know, but just to Roxanne's question, at the high school, they firmly believe that having students involved in activities beyond maybe core classrooms makes the educational experience, and so I can ask them, and I'll send it out on the recap to this, what percentage of students are involved in some kind of co-curricular or extracurricular activity. It's an incredibly high amount. And this is just a very small example of what's offered at the high school and Treasure. And Lindsay, that's what I was putting on the spot for a minute. I don't know if you know that answer or not, but I'll get that for you guys. But the depth and breadth of programs for the size of school district that Park City School District is astonishing, and fortunately a giant part of our students are involved in these other activities. So I'll look at that number.
Let's give our panel one more hand.
Unbelievable. I do have one last question. Do any of you want to be adopted? I'm sure things are going well, but I'd like to come in at the end and take credit for everything.
That's right.
So Meredith, are you the only senior?
Yes.
Okay, I hope college and fashion works out. If not, you're hired. Tell me what you want to do. I'll figure it out. You let me know when. The rest of you have a job too, but I want you to get through high school. I don't want your parents to get mad at me for taking you to high school. So, you guys let me know. we would like to take a few minutes here. Summer, I'd love for you to come up. You're doing some amazing things with coding. And also, I want to recognize as well as you're on your way up here, Caleb Fine has joined us this evening.
Yeah, Caleb.
And a couple of students around here. I just want to thank you for talking about the opportunity and applying that on a daily basis. It's got to be the administration and the teachers making it happen. So thank you so much for what you do to bring this alive on a daily basis. But Summer, please tell us about the wonderful things you're doing right now.
Wow, okay. We are piloting a program this year at Ecker Hill where we're incorporating computer science integrating computer science into content areas. So, tonight listening to our amazing panel here, still wiping away tears. By the way, you should have seen her in 7th grade standing in front of 500 teachers talking and speaking. She was incredible. So I'm thrilled to see her here tonight as well. But listening to the key things these kids were pointing out, they were talking about 21st century skills. They're talking about problem solving. They're talking about communication and working together. They're talking about flexibility. They're talking about persistence and grit and going at problems, to solve problems and not giving up even when you're raging at the problem, right? All of these kids are talking about these skills that they've learned from programs, the different programs that we're talking about. These skills, critical thinking, these skills are skills that can be brought into and taught also in the content area. So we're not just reaching those kids who are in these real specific niche programs. So what we're trying to do this year is we're working with a cohort of teachers who voluntarily, they've known me for a while, it really surprised me, stepped in and said, sure, Summer, what are you doing? Let's try this. As a tech coach for Ecker Hill, I transitioned into this position. And it has been absolutely amazing to watch these teachers take on these critical thinking, what would you call them? Critical thinking, pillars of critical thinking. They're teaching their kids how to decompose large problems in their content area. So we're not necessarily saying this has to be computer science in PE. We're saying these are computational thinking skills that will impact you no matter what area that you're in. They're decomposing, they're abstracting information, they're recognizing patterns, they're building algorithms, and then they're evaluating. The neatest thing I've seen in computer science with students is watching them not give up. So often as a teacher before I taught computer science, I would have students go, I don't get it, right? And they would just shut down. And you'd be like, And the coolest thing that I see now is, I don't get it. And I can walk over and I can say, but where's the problem? And they're able to stop, pull themselves together, identify the problem, and reapproach it. Now, if we add that to the content area and give this opportunity to all students, this style of thinking to all of our students, imagine the success that we're going to see. So that's the hope, that's the dream, right? We are going to see that. As I was talking to some of the teachers in my cohort today, I hate to pull out my phone as we're doing this, but I'm going to do it because I asked them for some thoughts or some comments on how things were going. So I just wanted to share some feedback from some of our teachers. We have a DLI teacher who says using the common vocabulary that we're teaching the kids to help break down large concepts of language has been super helpful, she says. We have a language arts teacher who says, I love using these strategies and the vocabulary of computational thinking and ELA. It amazes me how the students are able to translate and transfer the terms of computational thinking, abstraction, decomposition, patterns, and evaluation, and apply that to their ELA activities. We have a PE teacher who goes on to say, I think you already may know this, but the cohesion and the connection between the content and CS really helps students realize everything they are learning and how that ties together in a light bulb moment. I thought that was kind of cool to hear. We have another ELA teacher who just goes on to say her students are thinking out of the box and digging deeper into their learning. And this is only November. So that's what we're doing.
Thank you very much.
Super cool to hear about all those things. So at this point, I want to wrap things up. I've got about 20 minutes probably of thank yous and stuff like that, but we're running out of time, so I'm going to do this in like a minute or two. Very importantly, if for some reason you are not a part of the Scholar Circle, now is the time to do so. If those stories and what you're doing every day is not enough to kind of push you over the edge, but you can go to PCEF4kids.org. You can come to me after the meeting. We have multiple board members here with our tags on. My very talented co-president, co-chair, Molly Effersey, in the blue mask will help you out. And the most amazing staff you could ever hope for on a nonprofit. But we've got Abby back in the corner there. Jen Billow. Kara was here. I lost her there. She is. She's moved over there, Kara. I've got Mary in the corner and Heidi manning the desk. So any of those can help you out. We'd love to have you join our circle. It's very important. You can talk all about the opportunity. This is what we provide. And then the amazing staff of the district, Dr. Gilday, Kayla, thank you for joining us. Thank you for everything you're doing, and Lindsay, and the projects you guys are working on are unbelievable, and Tripp, you've been a wonderful co-host. It's really been amazing. Good job, waiting for applause. I see several parents here that are very proud, and you should be. The students have been unbelievable, so those parents that are doing a great job every day of helping the kids along, I'm sure you don't push them in, I'm sure they want to do it themselves, but I know it takes a lot of driving and encouragement to keep them on that path, so thank you to the parents. And the 5 of you, just unbelievable. I think I lost my job for next year. You are so well spoken that I will not be the MC next year. One of you will definitely be doing this. So thank you very much for coming.